Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia, the good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co-host, Joe. Today's movie is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Greed, often the folly of man. It can drive one to be an irrational fool, dividing friends and family, causing wedges that cannot be undone. Sometimes, around the holiday season, we need to remind ourselves it's not about the gifts, or the feast, or the parties, although all of those are grand, but the time we spend and, more importantly, who you spend it with.
Have you ever actually read A Christmas Carol, like the actual Charles Dickens novella?
I have. It was an assignment, I believe, in 5th grade reading class, when there still was reading class.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it was much smaller than I thought when I received my copy in class.
Mm-hmm.
Remember liking it, although I guess 5th grade, the language is still a little tough to understand.
Yeah.
But at that point, I have seen at least 2 adaptations, so I kind of knew how to follow it along.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't read it since, because I just watch a version of it every year, and I'm cool with that.
I've actually never read it. I always mean to every year, and obviously there's just a million things to do instead. I've always liked Charles Dickens, though, actually. Every time I've been assigned one of his books to read in school, I've ended up really enjoying it. So I keep meaning to check this out. Yeah, obviously I've seen a bunch of different movie versions of it. I have to admit that most of the movie versions I've seen are, in my opinion, kind of stuffy and very British period piece, which can be
Yes.
great sometimes if done right, obviously, but usually every other adaptation I've seen, I'm just like, what's the point of this? You're just doing the same thing all the other ones have done. Why don't I just go watch the one that has Muppets?
Why don't you watch the one that has Muppets? Yes. Why don't they
Yeah.
all have Muppets?
Yeah.
I guess that would make this one not stand out, I suppose.
Eh, I don't know. Now I'm imagining them reworking all different types of classic literature into versions with Muppets. I guess
Well,
like
yes, I just
Wishbone.
meant like, yeah, Wishbone. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I I don't know if I've read other Charles Dickens. I don't think I was ever assigned any besides that one.
I really like A Tale of Two Cities, and there's in my opinion, a really good movie version of it. I would catch it sometimes on Turner Classic Movies.
Good old TMC.
I know. But all right, with that being said, unless you have anything else you would like to say about.
Would I be correct in assuming this is your favorite version of Christmas Carol?
Yes.
Since we picked it for the podcast.
Of course, yeah. I mean, is it
Yeah.
not yours?
No, it definitely is.
Okay.
There's so many to choose from, and we agreed on this one, but I don't know when in discussion we properly asked that.
I mean, there are so many versions to choose from, but this is the one with Muppets. I just like I feel like there is no competition.
Yeah. Well, besides the Muppets, this is the only one I'm aware of that has Michael Caine in it, and I mean, you can't get much better than Muppets plus Michael Caine.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially we're going to look a little bit at who else could have played Scrooge in this version, and I think it would have been severely lacking without Michael Caine. Very seriously.
Oh yeah, he's a
Yeah.
serious man.
Yep. All right. Well, our movie today is The Muppet Christmas Carol, directed by Brian Henson, released December 11th, 1992, rated G, based on The Muppet Show by Jim Henson and A Christmas Carol, the novella by Charles Dickens.
So this is the Charles Dickens classic Christmas tale as told with the merriment of Muppets. But if you don't know what we're talking about still, in this movie, Gonzo kind of plays the role of Charles Dickens. He narrates the tale of Ebenezer Scrooge, which is, as we mentioned, played by Michael Caine, a mean miser who gets visited by his former business partners who have passed away as a warning to change his life. This is followed by 3 Christmas spirits, past, present, and yet to come, all visiting throughout the night, teaching Scrooge the error of his ways.
I don't think I saw this one in theaters. I feel like it would have been a good one considering it was Muppets rated G to take your young kid to for sure. I'm just willing to bet my parents did not. But I know we rented it obviously because we would watch it all the time every year. At some point we owned it on VHS and then DVD. And I mean now it's on streaming. So my son loves it too now. He watches it with me all the time.
I definitely did not see this in theaters. I don't remember the first time I saw it. It's one of those things that you watch it every year since you were a kid.
Hmm.
I didn't go to a lot of like movies when I was that little, but we bought
Right.
VHSs, especially like the rated G stuff for kids, as you do. And we just, I think, watched it so much. I think we had to get another copy or borrow grandma's because we wore it out.
Yeah. And I loved the Muppets when I was younger. I watched Muppet Babies all the time.
Muppet Babies, great.
Hmm.
I liked all the adventures they went on. I
Yep.
watched the original Muppet Show when I was like
Hmm.
a wee little Joe.
Yep.
My papa, my dad's dad, would for some reason call every Sunday to let us know it's on, and I was like 5, like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We watch it every week. Come on.
Yeah. That's a very grandparent thing to do at that time, I feel, to call
It,
each
it
other and tell you
yes,
something's on TV.
yeah. Kids love Kermit and Fozzie, but even as a
Of
kid,
course.
I loved the old guys in the balcony,
Oh,
and I knew
yeah.
one day I would slowly grow into that role in life, and we're getting there. We're getting there, fam.
Hmm.
We're almost there.
Yeah. I always thought every version of the Muppets was so funny and so entertaining, whether it was Muppet Babies, The Muppet Show, the older movies that came before Christmas Carol. Okay, I'm looking up the years for The Muppet Show. It premiered September 5th, 1976, final episode March 15th, 1981. So we must have been seeing reruns. I was actually trying to remember what station would rerun The Muppet Show because I really can't remember now. I don't think it was a Nick at Night show. And I'm not really sure how I even ended up seeing it originally.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Uh,
Did you watch the kind of revamp that they did? It was almost like a 30 Rock type show.
yes, I
I
did.
thought that show was hilarious.
I also really liked it. I'm pretty sure it premiered on my birthday the year it
Mm,
came out because I remember being so excited for a new Muppet show. And even before I had said anything, my husband was like, "You want to watch that new Muppet show, don't you?" I was like, "Yes, of course I do. Of course." And
yeah.
I really liked the newer movie that came out with Jason Segel. My husband and I always quote when they say they're going to travel by map because they'll get there faster, and it's they just show the line moving on the map. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that was really quick."
Yeah. I don't think I've seen a new Muppet movie in a while, so shame on me.
I did not see the sequel to that one. I only
That
saw
a
the first
sequel?
one that, well, maybe it wasn't a direct sequel, but it was another one with Jason
Okay.
Segel involved. If we had the streaming services that exist now when we were kids, especially something like Disney, I would have been watching all the Muppet stuff all the time. It's it's so funny to me how different the experience of consuming media is for my kid because anything he could think of, even if we don't have it on a streaming service that we pay for, we could probably rent it through Amazon. And there are a few things that obviously are not available anywhere, which is frustrating. Muppet Babies included, I think. I have not seen that streaming anywhere.
I was
But
going to bring that up. Yeah.
yeah, because I
There's like a
always,
new Muppet Babies, but
yeah,
it's like
that's,
that
mhm.
polished, weird CG. No, I
It's
want
not the
the.
same. I
No.
know. Yeah, for ages, I've wanted to show my son the Muppet Babies that I watched, and it's just
Hmm.
nowhere
Yeah.
because it's been really fun watching him get into things like that I watched as a kid, like the older Scooby Doo and I mean, even the Muppet Show, he loves the original version of the Muppet Show. He thinks it's hilarious because they're all just like yelling at each other all the time.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
just flailing their Muppet arms and yelling, and that's hilarious.
What's not to love?
What's not to love? All right, well, now that we've gone down memory lane quite a bit, Where we are in 1992 when A Muppet Christmas Carol is starting production, Jim Henson, the creator of the Muppets, passed away in May 1990. They also lost one of their main puppeteers, Richard Hunt. He passed in January 1992. The main ones he was responsible for are Scooter, Beaker, and Statler, which is one of the old men that you had mentioned. Jim Henson, I did not realize, I knew he died sort of young. He died at 53. Did you know that he kind of died from untreated strep throat?
No, that's like one of the weirdest ways I've ever read about someone dying.
Yeah, it turned into bacterial pneumonia, but from all accounts that I read, he didn't exactly feel like it was a bad enough sore throat that it was even strep, maybe.
Okay. So he's walking
So he
around
wasn't
sick.
really, yeah, he thought he was sick. He thought he had a cold, whatever. Turned into bacterial pneumonia, and his organs ended up shutting down. Basically, he had toxic shock syndrome. So
Jesus.
he died suddenly in 1990. Richard Hunt, the puppeteer, died from complications caused by AIDS at the age of 40. Both of them dying fairly young, and we're at a point now in 1992 where Brian Henson, son of Jim Henson, has taken over the Muppets. He had been wanting to get another movie made. He obviously wanted to continue the legacy of the Muppets, but wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to do next. They had an agent, I guess, named Bill Haber, who told Brian Henson, Christmas Carol is the greatest story of all time. You should do that. And while Brian Henson went to think about this, the agent came back to him and said, I've sold it to the ABC TV channel before anyone confirmed that they were going to go ahead with it. So it was originally going to be a TV movie on
Okay.
ABC,
Well, I hope you like the idea, Brian, because now we've committed.
right? It sounds like obviously Brian Henson, this was very emotional for him. He was concerned about honoring his father's legacy, but also wanted to do a Muppet project that was different enough that people felt he wouldn't just be copy pasting whatever his father would do in his own work. So they hired Jerry Jewell, who was a longtime writer for the Muppets. They hired him to do the script. I thought this was really interesting. They were going to have existing Muppet characters play all the main roles originally, including the ghosts. So the Ghost of Christmas Past was originally going to be Scooter or Robin the Frog. I don't actually know which one Robin the Frog is. Oh, that's like the younger frog, right?
Yeah, it's the he plays Tiny Tim,
Oh, of course, right.
and by say he plays him because the Muppet takes they have acting classes and then they
Oh,
are
of
clearly
course.
Shakespearean trained. Yeah, it's
Right.
like Kermit's nephew.
Right. Yes. Okay. Ghost of Christmas Present was going to be Miss Piggy. Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come was going to be Gonzo or Animal.
Hmm. Christmas present, Piggy, larger than life character. I can see that,
Yeah.
but I also see like Sweetums. He's
Mm,
just a big giant goofball, furball.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
Um, I don't think you need anyone to play Christmas Yet to Come. Like you just need to make it look like the Grim Reaper, and you're cool.
Yeah, I was about to say, could you imagine how different that last bit of the movie would have hit if it was Animal? Just bah,
It
bah,
would.
bah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have
Like taking
really.
him through things.
I can't think of who else it could be. Like it was like a big, quiet, silent Muppet.
Somehow, obviously, they decided to do away with this idea and bring in what they called new Muppet characters to play the ghosts. It wouldn't be anyone existing that we knew the names of. The writer, Jerry, is the one who had the idea to have Gonzo end up playing Charles Dickens and have Charles Dickens be a character in the movie. Brian Henson said, Nobody had ever captured Dickens' prose, the wonderful way he described the scenes. So we had to put Charles Dickens in the movie. Who's the least likely character to be Charles Dickens? Gonzo. So we made him this omniscient storyteller with Rizzo, his pain in the neck sidekick. 95% of what Gonzo says in the movie is directly taken from the book,
I think that's part of the reason, besides the Muppets and Michael Caine, I love this movie
right?
so much because, to my knowledge, at least the versions I've seen, we don't have a narrator.
Right.
The scene is just there and they play out and they're fine. but I do love that we're taken through it. And
Mm-hmm.
Dickens, aka Gonzo, he's saying things between the lines that we wouldn't see or hear, I should say,
Right.
in other versions of this.
Right. And I guess I always assumed some of these lines were taken from the book because it's that style of speaking. Even the very beginning where he says the Marleys were dead to begin with. Like who talks like that? So
Right. Yeah.
I always assumed, I guess, but having it be a conscious choice, I think was very smart. Like they said, to preserve the language of how well it was written. But then also, as a kids' movie, you're trying to expose kids to classic literature. It helps having
Right.
this fun narrator taking you through it too.
And not only that, but also as a kids movie, it helps explain the movie too. Yes, the
Hmm.
language is different. It's different reading it versus hearing it. I think I can understand it more hearing it as a little kid than reading it as a slightly older kid.
Hmm.
But it helps understand what's going on because it is directed towards kids, and you're trying to figure out why he's doing X, Y, and Z, and Gonzo is telling you.
Right, exactly.
Or
And
he's
then,
also telling you like how these characters are feeling internally, which is
hmm,
very helpful to a child.
yes, yeah. I do, of course, love the comic relief of Rizzo and having the two of them riff off of each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
I know this like the back of my hand. There's a mole on my thumb, a cut.
Oh man. They also Jerry Jewell, the writer, said that Rizzo was thought of as a Greek chorus type of character, which makes so much sense now that I've read this, but never really thought of it that way.
No, I haven't either, but yes, that's
Hmm.
perfect.
So, sometime after the script was submitted to ABC, Disney stepped in and offered to purchase it and turned it into a feature film that would have a theatrical run. It was the first Muppet film to be produced by Disney, who would later buy the rights to the Muppets in 2004. I know there was something about Disney trying to make a deal with Jim Henson before his death, probably to buy the Muppets, to be involved somehow with the Muppets, because there were a few quotes from other puppeteers, people who were longtime employees of Jim Henson, that said they felt the stress of the Disney negotiations contributed to him getting sick, but also feeling like he didn't have the time to go get checked out or kind of shrugging off his symptoms. But then they weren't bought outright until 2004, so I'm not exactly sure business wise where all that was.
Yeah, that's quite a long time later.
Hmm.
Maybe they thought it wouldn't look good to try to buy him out after his passing. And then his son might have stepped in and said, you know what? I got this.
Yeah, that's very possible that it was optics. It might surprise you to know there were other actors considered for Scrooge besides Michael Caine,
I am
because
surprised, actually.
I can't imagine this without Michael Caine. Also, this was the first movie I had ever seen him in as a kid, obviously. It's just so funny to me that routinely throughout my childhood, if I ever saw another movie with him, it was like, oh, that's Scrooge from the Muppet movie.
Yes, 100%.
Yep. And especially just when you realize what an accomplished actor he is and what a huge career he's had, and you know, proper trained British actor, whatever. It's very funny to me that as a kid, I was like, oh, Scrooge with the Muppets,
Yeah.
much like Bette Midler was from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. Well,
Yep,
of course he had a great career. He had the Jim Henson rub.
of course, of course.
He went on to do great things after this Muppet movie. They took some
Okay.
no-name actor off the street of London.
Off the streets of London, like he was actually like in one of the poorhouses in like
Yeah,
industrial revolution times of London.
that's why he was so good at this role. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Anyway, no, it's fine. Okay. David Hemmings was best known, I would say, for the lead role in Blow Up, which is 1966 Antonioni thriller. I've seen Blow Up. It was a really long time ago. It would be funny to think of this man's career being bookended by this thriller by like a really artsy European director and then Scrooge in the Muppet movie. Ron Moody, he actually played Fagin in Oliver, Oliver that won Best Picture. came out in 1968. So there is a Dickens connection at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Dickens wrote Oliver Twist, that is based off of. The final actor I saw was David Warner. He doesn't necessarily have one big role that I could associate him with like the other two, but a whole bunch of movie connections for us. He actually played Bob Cratchit in a 1984 television movie version of A Christmas Carol. He was the drama teacher in Scream 2, which I can't picture. It's been too long since I've seen Scream 2, but that's what he was credited as, the drama teacher.
Okay. Okay.
He also later did voice acting. He was in Gargoyles, the animated series, and Batman, the animated series.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Just all things we have mentioned here in
Mm-hmm.
past episodes. I'm not sure exactly how they settled on Michael Caine or convinced him to do this. Like, we know he had a very well established career at this point. It's not like he needed the Muppet bump, is all I'm saying. But
Maybe the Muppets needed him. I don't know.
I know, right? I think they kind of did. It wouldn't have worked without a good Scrooge. And I guess it's interesting to me that they realized they needed a human actor and it couldn't be a
Mm-hmm.
puppet for Scrooge. It just wouldn't have hit.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the reason this movie is so delightful to me is you have human Michael Caine dancing around with all these puppets all the time. So,
Yeah. I mean, you probably could do an entire Muppet production, and it would be good, but it
mhm,
wouldn't be great.
yeah. But according to Brian Henson, Michael Caine told him, I'm going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. I am going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me,
Yeah.
which I think it's fair to say he does.
Yeah. I read this somewhere on the internet, whether it was a meme or not, I can't remember. But the reason why this movie works and Muppet Treasure Island works is this like opposite for the main actors.
Mm,
In Muppet Christmas Carol, Michael Caine treats the Muppets like Shakespearean actors,
hmm.
like they are humans, his counterparts. Tim Curry treats himself like a Muppet.
Yeah,
But either way, they're making them equal to the Muppets or the Muppets equal to themselves. But they're all the
right,
same playing
exactly.
field. And that's why they work.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I mentioned before, this was Brian Henson's first time directing a feature film, not only taking over the Muppets and the whole company after his dad's passing, first time directing a feature film. Michael Caine was so impressed by Brian Henson that he had no idea it was his first time as a director.
I mean, it doesn't show.
Right. I think it probably helps a little bit that Brian Henson was already in that world of the Muppets. He knew how this stuff worked.
Right, yes.
Although he said in an interview I read with The Guardian that he was 28 and terrified. And that
Yeah, I would
is,
be.
28's kind of young compared to some of the other movies we've talked about, so I could see that.
I wasn't even thinking the 28 part, but
Mhm.
just as you mentioned, his first time directing anything, or at least a feature film, it sounds like,
Yeah.
and taking over for his dad. So, like, the
Yeah.
shoes are huge to be filled.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. And he called it a very emotional environment, which, again, not surprising because in addition to Jim Henson being gone, they had to replace Richard Hunt, the one of their main puppeteers, that it sounded like he had been with them from the beginning. Steve Whitmire is a puppeteer. He took over Kermit from Jim Henson. He had a quote, I was taking over from Jim as Kermit, which was a little scary, as you might imagine. It was important not only to match Kermit's character, but also his voice. Jim and I don't sound exactly alike, and the night before we pre recorded the songs, I had a lot of trouble getting to sleep, thinking, I really want this to be good. This means so much to everybody. So you can see, like, everyone had a lot riding on this in a sense that they obviously want to make a good movie, right? But it's the added
Right.
layer of lots of people stepping into different shoes and different roles that are new for them.
Yeah, I don't know which is more stressful, being
Hmm.
Brian or being Steve.
Yeah.
Because Brian's behind the camera, and like anything that's different from the Muppets, you can maybe put a spin on it. Like, this is my vision of it, my artistic license. how I
Mhm.
envision like going forward.
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
doesn't work if Kermit isn't Kermit.
Yeah. Steve Whitmire, as I read this interview with him, he went on to say that that night when he finally did fall asleep, he had a dream that Jim Henson visited him and he was telling Jim how nervous he was and he's so overwhelmed with this and he's like, I don't think I can do it. I feel like I can't do this. And Jim Henson in the dream told him, it'll pass. And he felt like that was almost him getting Jim Henson's blessing to like go on and take over this role.
So he was visited by the ghost of puppets past.
There you go.
Hmm.
David Goles, he took over as Gonzo and Waldorf. Waldorf being the other half of the two
Mm-hmm.
cranky men.
Yep.
Yeah. This is his quote. By the time the work on Christmas Carol started, the really intense grieving was done. It was such a soulful piece and a chance to carry on the heart of Jim's work. The idea that people were basically good and there was enough in the world for everyone. It was cathartic. And then specifically on him taking over Waldorf. I was reluctant, of course. I wanted to be supportive, but I really wanted Jim to come back instead. For the following 15 or 16 years, I did Waldorf. I just thought, I'm a placeholder. I didn't ad lib, I just did the dialogue. And then one day it occurred to me I had done Waldorf longer than Jim had, and that Jim was not coming back, so I might as well try to own it.
Wow.
I know. That one really got to me.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, that's the other thing too is Jim Henson, besides doing Kermit, obviously that was like his baby, so to speak. He did
Hmm.
so many other characters that he had to fill in with other puppeteers and
Hmm.
voice work.
Yep.
And by the way, going on record here, that Gonzo is my other favorite.
What was your first favorite? The two old men?
Yeah, like those are like my three. Love
Okay.
me a Kermit and a Fozzie Bear. Who
Of
doesn't? But
course,
I've
right.
always loved Gonzo.
For me, it was always Beaker and the Swedish Chef. And I realize now that I apparently just like Muppets that sound funny, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Beaker always, I just always thought he was so funny because even though he does not say any other words, you can still tell what he's expressing, and then his facial expressions kill me. At the end,
Hmm.
especially of this movie, when Scrooge approaches him and his whole head just sort of collapses into his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with this all being said, we're going to get into our actual movie.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Just right away hitting play. We've talked about movies from this time and the horrible 90s fonts and things like that.
Yeah.
This has none of that. You
Oh,
see this what the, like a almost looks like a laser inscribing something and then it tilts towards us and it's Kermit's face.
yeah.
I remember that from the other movies or maybe just this movie watching it too many times.
Yep.
Like right away I'm hitting the gut with nostalgia like, oh my god, it looks so familiar to me. I love it.
Yes, exactly. And like you said too, especially compared to some of the odd design choices we've seen, it's obviously it's classic because it's Kermit, but this is also a lot crisper and cleaner.
Hmm.
And I feel like they're just very sure of their legacy with this sort of a logo here.
Oh yeah, you get the opening shot of the roofs and just kind of setting the scene and
Hmm.
what is this, 18th century, 19th century London?
The novel came out in, I want to say 1840 something.
Okay. So you get 1840s England rooftops and just, snowy Christmas
Hmm.
scene setting, and they're playing just the music or a version of it to, I think it's the song The Ghost of Christmas Present sings.
Hmm.
And
But
again,
instrumental.
yeah, again, gut punch of nostalgia, just
Yeah.
and remembering how good the music is in this movie as well. Like, oh yeah, this definitely works as a kids movie because these songs are catchy and fun, but they're well done.
Hmm.
So as an adult, I'm like, oh, I can
Yeah.
really appreciate this.
Yeah. It's, at least for me, again, probably very biased because, I've always loved this movie. But that opening, when you hear the first few notes of the music, to
Hmm.
me, that's just childhood. That's Christmas. That is curling up and watching this movie with my tree up and the lights on. I actually also think about times when my son was a baby and he wasn't sleeping through the night yet, especially closer to Christmas time. He was 4 months old, 3 or 4 months old. I'd be up really early in the morning, still dark out, and we'd put on something like this, like a Christmas movie, and just sit on the couch. And I remember watching this movie specifically now with my baby on the couch, curled up because we couldn't sleep.
Your own little tiny Tim.
Yeah. I still like when Gonzo introduces himself as Charles Dickens and Rizzo is so taken aback and, oh,
Hmm.
okay, sure, Mr. Dickens. And he says, a blue furry Charles Dickens who hangs out with a rat. And of course, I think of this line all the time if I don't, if just like I see a Charles Dickens book or whatever. There's some Charles Dickens adaptation coming out, like another adaptation of his work. And obviously, I'm sure this is what Charles Dickens always hoped for when he was writing these novels.
Oh yeah, if you read his like memoir that was released like early 2000s, it says, "Thank God Gonzo played me in a movie."
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Really, really turned my whole rep around. Did you actually know he was kind of an asshole? He had his wife institutionalized so he could go marry
Oh my
someone
God.
else.
I do remember learning that in fifth grade for that class. Very briefly, we
Oh,
talked about
really?
it, but I do
Okay.
remember, maybe not in detail, but yes, wow, that came back.
See, I didn't even know that until recently.
I don't. I think we just touched on it. Like he wasn't a good person. He had like a wife, then he had her put away to have another wife. All
Hmm.
right, let's open the book, kids, to page 42, and
Yep.
yeah,
That's such a strange thing for them to teach you at that age, but okay. None
gotta
of
learn
these people
sometime.
are actually good. They just write well. Let's go.
Let's go.
I do remember it must be when Gonzo says that line about the Marleys were dead to begin with, like I mentioned.
Hmm.
Rizzo says it's creepy and kind of woohoo, spooky. I literally remember that from the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. And I
I think
meant
it
to
was.
rewatch the trailer before we recorded this, and I
Uh,
forgot.
me too. Was that towards the end of the trailer, like as they're showing all the stuff, and then like before it cuts, or am I making that up?
Maybe. I feel like there was a cut right after it. I don't remember though. Steve Whitmire, the puppeteer we talked about taking over for Kermit. Yes.
Hmm.
He also did Rizzo. He originated the character of Rizzo. He said that every time they did a take, the characters would stay alive for a little bit, as he put it. And so they would end up doing a lot of ad libs to each other, like, oh, do you think that was a good take? Oh, do you think this one worked? But, obviously still in character. And apparently, a lot of what made it in the final cut for Rizzo was him improvising.
Nice. I can see that character being better being improvised as long as the one doing it is clever.
Yeah, and especially with most of his role in this being reacting to Gonzo or Charles Dickens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I love this introduction of Scrooge. I love this song. As a
Hmm.
theater kid, I really appreciate the way he first walks in. Before we even see his face, we just see his feet and, his walking cane, and he's walking and tapping the cane in time to the beat of the music.
I mean, no notes.
How does it get better than this? It doesn't.
It does because there's more Muppets.
Well, sure. Um, but no, I think I know every word of this opening song. It's
Very nice.
my husband a lot of times will get stressed, I guess, about things involving the holidays, and I always sing this at him. I'm always like, "There goes Mr. Humbug." um,
I'm sure he loves that.
no, I'm sure he does. But even the end of this song, the way we finally see Scrooge's face, the way he just turns around at the last beat and everyone scatters and he gives us his
Mhm.
first humbug, it's perfect.
Yeah, very scary.
He is, yes. I always thought he was scary when I was younger. Then I grew up and realized he was just, Michael Caine, professional actor Michael Caine.
professional, professional man of being scary.
I can't help wondering how these people would think about us as kids, seeing their later films being like, "Oh, that's the guy from the Muppet Christmas Carol."
It's even funnier seeing his earlier films and saying the same thing.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Sleuth?
I don't think so.
It is really funny seeing him in things like that are more thrillers or things that have creepy elements, I guess. And obviously, actors are supposed to do whatever the part calls for, right? That's acting. But it is just funny seeing this man I grew up watching with Muppets just having darker roles.
Oh yeah,
Also, Sleuth is amazing. If you can find it anywhere, I would highly recommend it. It's probably my favorite Michael Caine movie outside of this.
damn. And no
It's
Muppets were involved.
no Muppets were involved, unfortunately, but still recommended despite that. It can be kind of hard to find a copy. It's odd, but it's Laurence
Too bad.
Olivier and Michael Caine
Oh nice.
from 1972.
Too bad we don't have blockbusters anymore. I would run down and rent it for probably 50 cents.
Yeah, I think it technically is on DVD, but it's like out of print, maybe.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
hard to, and it's not really streaming anywhere. It's hard to find, like all the best movies for some reason. The other thing I really love about this song is obviously you have the regular Muppet characters, right? But then you also have animals that are actual animals, like, horses that are just regular horses that are also singing along with this, working animals, so to speak. The vegetables sing. I love how
Yes.
absurd this all is. I love that when the cart rolls by and the vegetables are all singing, it's just, this is what I think I've always found so funny about the Muppets in general is their absurdist and almost anachronistic, and nothing makes sense, but it makes sense in the world of the Muppets.
Yes. Yeah. No, it totally does. Because
Yeah.
I didn't bat an eye now or then when the vegetables spring to life and start singing.
Mhm.
It's like, yep, that checks out for me. I don't know why. I mean, again, though, we're introduced to Charles Dickens, which is like, what is a gonzo? I don't know.
Well,
He's
yeah.
gonzo. One of a
Mhm.
kind. He's a furry blue thing with a big nose who's a weirdo. Besides
Right.
blue, that's me. Like, I don't.
I guess I noticed more on this rewatch that obviously characters like Kermit and Miss Piggy are animals, but then you also have animals in this world that are regular animals, except they can
Yes.
talk. And of course, the one line I always think of, no cheeses for us Mises.
No cheeses for us, Mises.
This must be when Scrooge is finally in his office and Gonzo and Rizzo are trying to see through the window when Gonzo wipes the window with Rizzo to clean it off. And Rizzo
Yeah.
says, "Thank you for making me a part of this."
Yeah. I love their dynamic in this movie. I also love that, much like Scrooge when he's visited by the ghosts, he's around these other people. No one could see or hear him. No one could
Hmm.
see or hear Gonzo or Rizzo,
Hmm.
yet they physically have to interact with the world. They can't walk through the door like Scrooge and the ghosts can. And it's a weird
Hmm.
dynamic where like they're a part of the scene and setting, but
Hmm.
not. No one sees or hear them talking to each other or to us, but like they have
Right.
to sneak in the door or they have to climb a gate or etc.
Yeah, I did think about that we obviously see them struggling sometimes to keep up with Scrooge or, get to where he's going, like when they hitch a ride into the past with him. But
Yeah.
then when they're in this scene, it's like no one else sees them or is aware of them.
I found it extra funny this time around watching it when Scrooge goes into his office and there's a Muppet character waiting for him, and Kermit's like, I think his name's Mr. Appleton, and it's Christmas Eve, obviously, and he's like, "Oh, I just need an extension on my mortgage. It's Christmas time, sir, and the doctors will have been sick, and they got to take their fair share." And he just like gets up from his desk, Scrooge that is, picks up this man, which again, this is a Muppet, but he's a man character. He's not a frog or a bear. And he picks up
Right,
this man by
yes.
the head, opens the front door, and throws him out like garbage.
Yes. Okay,
What a
yeah, I know
dick!
what you're talking about.
He's like, fuck your doctor bills. I want my money. Bye.
Bye.
Just,
Um,
oh, man.
it's funny you bring that up because I also was struck by exactly how mean and awful Scrooge was because, like you said, we're watching this closer, we're taking notes. Obviously, I always knew he was mean, but the line where he says, "Oh, good, we can gift wrap the eviction notices because it's going to be Christmas." Man, that is hardcore mean.
Scrooge don't give no fucks.
No, he does not. That is something that always stuck out to me, even as a kid, when Bob Cratchit is trying to convince Scrooge to close the office for Christmas, is that wouldn't everything else be closed too?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, that's the
the
point that Bob Cratchit makes, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
But also in doing, some background research, apparently at the time that Charles Dickens wrote this, Christmas hadn't really been a big celebration. It had kind of fallen out of favor in popularity
In England?
in England, right? I something about I don't know. It was the Industrial Revolution. Everyone was poor and
Yeah,
dirty.
poor.
I don't know.
Did this movie save Christmas in the UK?
I mean, I
Because they
think
love this fucking book in these movies.
more so the novella, more so Charles
Yeah,
Dickens, less Muppets.
I think that's what I
Because
meant. I just got so excited.
I know. It would be great if the Muppets were responsible for Christmas as we know it now. It was around the time that the story was published that I want to say, was that Queen Victoria and Prince Albert? They popularized Christmas trees.
Oh,
It was around this time that traditions that we associate with Christmas were introduced or started becoming more mainstream.
okay.
You get history of the Muppets in this episode. You get some history of Charles Dickens being an asshole to his wife. You get the history of mainstream Christmas traditions. This
We don't know where
episode
we're
has
going.
everything.
Yeah. The other thing Kermit Cratchit is begging for is some uh, coal because they're freezing, and
Right,
Ebenezer's a tight ass with his money, and
right, of course.
Bob's and his little other what are they? What's their job?
Accountants? I'm really not
Accountants.
sure.
Yeah, I think they're accountants. Some sort of they're accountants for Scrooge. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bob and his fellow accountants, who are all rats, who basically look like Rizzo's cousins, they're begging
Right.
for more coal because they're cold, obviously, and like oh my hands hurt, I can't write or whatever. And the scene always made me crack up, and my sister as a kid that we'd randomly quote it like just any time during the year.
Hmm.
But basically, Scrooge fires back that they don't need any more coal. It's warm enough, and all of a sudden they cut to the rats all in like Hawaiian shirts and straw hats, and they're like, "This is my island in the sun, oi oi!"
Yeah.
And that I can text my sister that right now, and she'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and probably
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah.
It's just the dumbest thing that out of all the lines from this movie, that for some reason just carried with us.
Right. This is also where we meet Scrooge's nephew, Fred, right?
Hmm.
His name's
Hmm.
okay. I always thought Fred was such a goober. And I feel kind of bad about it because
You
obviously he's
should.
supposed to be the counterpart to how awful and miserly Scrooge is. Fred loves Christmas and he's really happy and nice, but I just feel like he's a little too jazzed about life. I just he's he really loves Christmas, but I also feel like he just is so excited to wake up every morning. And it's a little, to me, it is too much the other end.
Well, I think that's important, though. Yes, it is to kind of balance the meanness of Scrooge, sure, but in a
Hmm.
way, when you first see him come in, he's like, "Lovely day, Uncle. I love you, Uncle. I love everything, Uncle." I'm like, I'm siding with
Hmm.
Scrooge here for a second,
Right?
and I think that's meant to be that way. But like, we don't want to side with Scrooge because he's a mean old man. But boy, I haven't had my coffee yet. You are two espressos in deep. I got to catch up with you.
Right, right.
This
Yeah.
actor, Stephen McIntosh, he looked so familiar to me the past few years watching it. Not because I've watched this 100 times, but something triggered in me years ago. I'm like, who is this guy? He has to be in something else. So I looked him up this time. I was like, oh my god, he is in Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He plays a pothead drug dealer.
Nice.
That's really the only two things I know him from, and
That's
it's
great.
weird on both ends. Like, oh, okay, maybe that's why he's so happy in this movie.
Maybe. Or maybe this
He's just vibing out.
maybe this is who he was before his downfall, getting addicted to whatever he is in the Guy Ritchie movie.
Making money. Oh my god, he turns into Scrooge.
This is when Beaker and is it Mr. Honeydew? Dr. Honeydew? Is he a doctor?
There's both scientists, Bunsen and Beaker.
Of course. Bunsen Honeydew. Okay. He's a honeydew.
He's a honeydew.
Is the honeydew a doctor?
We're like, honey, don't come back here and ask me for money.
Okay. But still, this is one of my favorite scenes. Obviously, I've said I love Beaker. Again, Scrooge being so hardcore when they're asking him for money for the poor and they're saying, well, what, do you just expect them to, go out and freeze to death? And Scrooge is like, good, it'll decrease the surplus population.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore.
Yes. Also, at a point in time where I doubt we were really thinking about the world being overpopulated the way some people are now. So it's funny that this even kind of snuck into this mid 1800s novel. Michael Caine gave an interview that I read where he said the hard part about acting with the Muppets was that with an actual person being your scene partner, there are emotional cues. You can see the ways their eyes are expressing things, and you can bounce off of that with your scene partner. And with the Muppets, that's a little more difficult because they only have so much they can express with their faces, at least some of them. He specifically said that one scene was very difficult because there was a Muppet that had a green face with no eyes and glasses. So obviously, how could he read his emotion that well? And I assume he meant Honeydew.
Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know. I kind of feel like, at least as a viewer, I could kind of see some emotion on Mr. Honeydew, albeit minor, but like you can tell, maybe it's the voice acting, but you can tell that this character is kind of flabbergasted of Scrooge's meanness and willingness to let poor people die cold and frozen in the streets. It's probably the voice acting.
Yeah, the voice acting, the way they scrunch their necks. you gotta show emotion in a Muppety way.
Yeah. Kermit Cratchit asks Scrooge to be closed on Christmas because, to your point, to Bob's point, that there's no other businesses open to do business with. And he was like, do you want to be closed the entire day? And the whole time the rats are behind him rallying up the frog. And he's like, you want to be closed the entire day? And then they cut back to the Muppets and the rats are like, it was the frog's idea, and they scatter again.
Yeah. I love that.
Day is done. Close up shop. They have this little musical number while they're cleaning. Gonzo and Rizzo follow Scrooge to where he lives, and they're like driving a buggy. And Rizzo being like a random sidekick, this probably had to be improvised because it's so weird. And that Rizzo's like eating because he's a little rat and he's always nibbling on something. And he's like, here, have some bread to Gonzo. And he just like is trying to give his monologues, and he's like, not while I'm working. like he's offering him like a shot of bourbon or something.
Right. When we see Scrooge get to his apartment, it was always so unsettling to me as a kid when the doorknob changes to the face of one of the Marleys. Also, I'm pretty sure I thought for ages that there were two Marleys because of the Muppet Christmas Carol.
There was some liberties taken.
Yes. Yeah. And also, there's the whole song about Marley and Marley. There are two Marleys.
Well, yes.
Forever after that, anytime I saw a version where there was just Jacob Marley, I was like, well, where's the other one?
Where's Robert?
Where's the other Marley? But no, I thought this was so freaky as a kid that it turns into his face and then it just yells out. Again, though, I've said it before on this podcast, things like that are scarier to me where you don't understand why they're happening. Like, that's scarier to me than when they show up and explain everything.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the random creepy noises that's scarier to me. As a kid, I just thought this was the scariest thing. The way he yells out, the ghostly yell, scares
Mm-hmm.
the horse.
Scares the horse. I mean, Scrooge almost tumbles down the steps.
Yes. It sounds like in other versions that are maybe more faithful to the book, when Marley shows up, his bottom jaw falls off.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds a lot spookier, which I understand. I am watching a G-rated version. I just apparently don't know the real version that well because I've just watched the Muppets.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's fair.
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty close. But they're all adaptations are pretty close.
I have a quote from Brian Henson. When Scrooge comes home and he's an angry, lonely man and the first ghosts show up, I knew I was going to scare people. There were kids crying in the cinema when it was released in 1992. It's like he knew me. But then when Jacob Marley and his brother Bob come out, they're singing the catchiest tune in the movie. You need to go to those dark places for the ending to be as joyous as it can be.
Fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
it works.
Yep.
But they're supposed to be scary to scare Scrooge.
Of course, right.
So it makes sense.
Marley and Marley is definitely catchy. It's in my head
Oh
right
yeah.
now.
Yep, I so hard not to sing it right now.
Yes.
In any version of this novella, like Scrooge is trying to rationalize why he's seeing, well, in this case, ghosts, but usually just the one ghost. And he's
Hmm.
like basically having some sort of indigestion,
Yeah.
essentially. And I only bring that up because the ghosts quip back, leave the comedy to the bears. And obviously they're talking about Fozzie,
Hmm.
who's not exactly known as being a good stand-up comedian, mostly because these two make fun of him from the balcony. So I kind of thought
Hmm.
that was funny. Little like
Yeah.
quip and ode back to the old show.
Yeah. I'm sure this dialogue about I have indigestion, I'm just seeing things is, from the original story. But when I was a kid, I never understood why some mustard would make you see ghosts. I never understood this.
I really still don't understand it. I'll get some indigestion sometimes, and I never like hallucinate ghosts.
I assume it's some weird Victorian understanding of medicine from the time.
Got it.
Go do some bloodletting and he'll be all better.
Have some leeches and cocaine. You'll feel fine.
Yep.
Call me in the morning.
Yep. I do think it's so funny when after they explain all the ghosts that, when the bell tolls one, this and that, Scrooge says, "Can I meet them all at once and get it over with?"
Right. I mean, that's efficient. The man is efficient. I love it.
But also the first time I think we really see him shaken up. I mean,
Oh
yes, with
yeah.
the doorknob earlier, but you can tell now he's getting concerned the way he delivers that line. I always love this part when the ghost of Christmas passed right before she shows up, I believe, when Gonzo and Rizzo are trying to get over the gate to his
Hmm.
apartment. And they make such a big deal of Rizzo jumping over this gate. And he says, "God save my little broken body." And I think of this line anytime if I'm going on a roller coaster or something I really don't want to do. I think of this all the time of him hyping himself up and saying, "Please save my little broken body." But then he just easily slides through the bars to get his jelly beans back.
Yeah, because he
And how
forgets them on the other side.
exasperated Gonzo is. Yeah.
Yep. Muppet
Yep.
comedy.
Yeah. Goes to Christmas Past. I always thought her face was so unsettling.
So weird.
Okay, I'm glad you agree with this because I know I have a thing about creepy kids and also
Yeah.
about, we've talked about this. What really scares me in scary movies isn't so much ghosts or whatever evil entity there is, it's when that ghost doesn't look right, when the ghost
Yeah.
looks freaky and not just, I don't know, a person you can see through. this is how I feel about the Ghost of Christmas Past. It's like a creepy child whose face doesn't look quite right, and I don't like looking at her straight on. It's
Don't like
really
looking at this
uncomfortable.
baby.
I don't, because it's a baby,
Uh,
but an adult, and like when they talk about those Byzantine paintings that no one knew how to draw a baby's face, and they
right.
look like
Yeah.
babies with an adult face.
Well, it's weird too because it seems to me that it's just the face that's a Muppet or a puppet
Hmm.
of some sort, and like the rest is done in post, and it's like very flowy and
Yeah.
airy. And yeah, it does. It doesn't look like any of the other Muppets, like stylistically wise. Like the vegetables look like the horse. It looks like Kermit. They
Hmm.
have a style. This one, at least in this watching, it gives me a little bit of Dark Crystal vibes.
I'm not as familiar with Dark Crystal, but I could see what you're saying.
Yeah, which is also Henson, I believe. Yes, but
Yes.
clearly different style than
Hmm.
the Muppets exactly.
Right.
But that's kind of what it reminded me of. It's like kind of like pancake face, little features. It's not angelic in my opinion. No.
I can't have feeling like that's what they were going for because this is, well, I guess I wouldn't say it's the nicest ghost, but it's giving childhood innocence because that's also where they take him back to.
Hmm. Right.
I feel like that's sort of where they were going with this because most of his past is his childhood. But to your point about the tiny features, it kills me when Scrooge takes her tiny little hand and
Oh
he's just
God.
like pinches it between his thumb and forefinger.
Hold on to my strong hand. We'll be right back after this break.
I'm gonna be able to watch this ever now. Oh, you've officially ruined it for me. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Joe's ruined Christmas, but the Muppets will save it.
Not the Ghost of Christmas Past.
You already didn't like her anyways.
I did not. I appreciate the job she is here to do. Um Anyway, so we go back to the past, to Scrooge's past, when he's a child at boarding school. Is that correct? The way that Sam the Eagle says business,
Oh yeah.
when he says, "You'll love business." My husband and I quote this all the time when we talk about work or having to go to work. Like,
Having to go
okay,
to
time for
business.
business. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll love going into the field of business.
Yep. The part where all the busts fall off the shelf and you see Gonzo and Rizzo go with it. That's specifically what I was thinking of when I said they don't seem to be noticed
Yeah.
whenever they're traveling through these eras with
Hmm.
Scrooge. Mhm.
Doesn't Sam turn around when the busts fall, but they don't like acknowledge Gonzo and Rizzo? They just like kind of look like, oh, that the shelf fell.
Exactly. Yeah, because he says
Okay,
something
yeah.
like, I've been meaning to fix that shelf. So obviously it happened,
Okay,
but
yes, yeah.
we as a viewer clearly see Gonzo and Rizzo go down with it, and there's no mention of, oh, these other people are here. I love when we cut to Fozziwig's old rubber chicken factory.
Yes.
I just love Fozziwig as a character. He's so happy-go-lucky, and the way he calls his wife mom, I think, it's very
That's
wholesome
very
and
of the
silly.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. But also really nice for the Muppet writers that Charles Dickens had named this character something so similar that would work with Fozzie, right?
Right.
He was really
It's
thinking
like
ahead with that one.
yeah, it's like this novella was like begging the Muppets to do a version of it.
Yep. But also the way that Michael Caine is so excited to see Fozziewig's old rubber chicken factory and delivers that line. He is such a good sport here. He really did
Professional
take
actor.
this. Yeah. And the quote he gave about, I'm going to play this straight, I'm going to be serious about it. I feel like, especially with this scene, you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The very, to me at least, famous part where Gonzo is lighting the lamp and he lights Rizzo's tail. And he says, light the lamp, not the rat, light the lamp, not the rat.
I love
Yeah.
that. Then he falls through a bucket of water
Hmm.
and becomes like a Rizzo popsicle. And
Yes.
Gonzo walks into the party with this little frozen rat and just to break him open.
Yeah.
Of course, the famous Muppet band is there playing at this big party.
Hmm.
And you've never watched the Muppets. This will be lost on you, but poor Animal is behind the drum kit. Maybe Mr. Honeydew doesn't have emotions, but Animal definitely does. And he looks in pain that he can't just have like a Neil Peart drum solo right now.
Right.
He's just like hitting a triangle and just like, "Whoa."
Yeah. Obviously, we see the Swedish chef here, one of my other favorite characters, and when he lifts the lids off of the food he's prepared, it's, I think, grapes singing, and someone says, "Oh, my mother always told me to never eat singing food."
I think it was Rizzo.
Rizzo, yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense.
so.
So at this party is when Scrooge meets Belle, who is a woman he will eventually become engaged to, right?
Believe so.
Yes, okay. Because then after this, we cut to a scene of them walking over a tiny bridge together where they break up because he still won't commit to a wedding date because he doesn't think they have enough money to get married.
Yep.
Yep, that's the gist of it. When we see older Scrooge, Michael Caine, watching this all unfold, the ghost of Christmas Past is right behind him, and you see her face full on, and I hate it.
Yeah. It's creepy. That's all. I don't know what else to say. It's creepy.
I don't think it was supposed to be, but it just, I hate this face. So, this is the scene where, depending on what version you are watching of this movie, the character of Belle sings a song called When Love Is Gone, and it's her big emotional song, breaking up with Ebenezer. Everyone cries. Her, young Ebenezer, old Ebenezer, Rizzo. So this was cut from the original theatrical release because Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was the head of Disney at the time, he said that young kids wouldn't care about this. It wouldn't hold their attention, basically. I can tell you that I remember watching this movie in school a few times, and the VHS and then later the DVD, if you had it in full screen, if you had the full screen version, they included this song. And I
Hmm.
think, I want to say for VHS, it was just automatically on there. But I remember, like, I still have a DVD where you can choose full screen or widescreen. And the full screen is the full movie with this song. Widescreen has the song cut. But I remember
Okay.
watching this in school, and this is why I assume the VHS must have just had this scene in there automatically, because anytime this song would come on, a bunch of the kids would groan and be like, "Oh, this is the worst part." And like they didn't want to watch this girl like cry and sing this emotional song.
So, I mean, yes, I had it on VHS, so I had this part as well. I do remember this is about, I'd say, roughly halfway through the film, and this is where Joe gets up and gets a snack.
Oh, this poor
I
actress.
mean, well, I was reading about this too and came across a quote. Someone had mentioned like it got cut originally because they thought, quote, kids got too antsy during this part, and they were 100% right.
Yeah.
I found the full version actually streaming. You go to Disney Plus, and if you go to extras, you can
Hmm.
scroll down and pick full version.
Yes.
So if you want the sad song, you can play it. And as an adult, still don't love this. It does make almost like a break screeching halt of what's going on because the Ghost of the
Hmm.
Past shows a bunch of different things rapid fire, and then it's just like very slow, sad song. The problem is, and I don't think you care about this as a kid, but then later Scrooge sings a song that is like a payoff to this song.
Hmm.
I feel like it works without it, but I can see how important it is to have it. I could take it or leave it at both as a child and as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would have been different if this had been in the original version always, that we had grown up watching. But yes, Brian Henson was very frustrated with this being cut because this song is When Love Is Gone. And then later, Scrooge sings When Love Is Found, I think it's called. So it
I believe
is,
so.
the two songs are a counterpoint. to show Scrooge's growth in the end. But yes, it was put over the ending credits as, I guess, a concession to cutting it. It's a weird little story, though, because in order to get this on the home video release, it was on the VHS, like we've mentioned. It was on earlier home video releases. Later, when they're talking about releasing it on, DVD, Blu-ray, some newer media, Disney told Brian Henson that it was lost. They had lost the original footage. There was a quote from Brian Henson talking about trying to cut the footage in that had been on the VHS and cut it into what would be on the DVD, but you could tell it was two different qualities, if that makes sense. It
Yes.
wasn't because it wasn't all the original footage. So they just left it out because it looks so bad, I guess. In December 2020, Brian Henson was on BBC Radio 2, and he confirmed that Disney archivists had found the film negative of this part. For decades, they thought it was just gone. And I'm sure Brian Henson was like, all right, Jeffrey Katzenberg, if you hadn't made me cut this, I'd have the whole original negative with me, but whatever.
Right. They just
Uh,
found it.
yeah, I can imagine their archives are huge, but because they found the original, it could be included on future releases, especially things like 4K. Disney, when Disney Plus was first released, the streaming service, they said they couldn't include the scene on the streaming release of Muppet Christmas Carol because of time constraints. I assume this meant that between them launching the service and finding this footage, they didn't have time to edit that back in.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I thought
Yeah.
time constraints. This is like, oh, it's too long with it cut in there.
That's what I thought too when I first read this. I didn't understand what that meant. And also it's streaming. It's infinite. What are you talking about? And also it's not like this
Right.
is a long movie either way. Yeah, I was very confused when I first read that. But like you said, if you watch Muppet Christmas Carol on Disney Plus and go to extras, you have the option to watch this scene as a bonus extra, or you can watch what they call the full version of the movie, but only if you go under extras.
Right. They're kind of
So,
hiding it. And I only knew that because I Google searched.
yeah, that's actually how I found this out too, because when I first put this on, I did watch it on Disney Plus. I do still have the DVD, one of the older DVDs where you had widescreen and full screen options. Full screen option has the song in it, widescreen does not, which that's a whole other thing. If you like
Yeah.
when DVD
Remember? Yeah.
releases had both versions,
Yeah.
rectangular shaped TVs really did us a service there by getting rid of full screen cuts. Yeah, I remember thinking that could I only watch this song now if I already had a DVD of it? But I had no idea it was in the extras until I also looked it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're trying to bury this song, it seems like.
I mean, it kind of felt that way, to be honest with you. Okay, so we move on to the Ghost of Christmas Past. I mean, he definitely looks like a Muppet.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about, Ghost of Christmas Present looking out of place, regardless of how creepy she may or may not be. Again, Michael Caine, such a good sport when he finally loosens up a little bit and is dancing next to the big jolly ghost. And he has
Yeah.
his arms out and he's just sort of going, like, sort of swaying back and forth with his arms out. Yeah,
Yeah. It
I
both
love
looks
it.
very awkward, but very like joyful.
Yeah, well, and it's
But it makes me
funny.
kind of feel happy doing it. Like I feel like I'm smiling more. I don't know what this is.
This is because it's so silly having your arms up
Yeah.
like this. You can't not. But yeah, it's funny because the dance looks perfectly reasonable. The Ghost of Christmas Present, like this big jolly guy, but then it does not look, it looks so dorky when a normal sized human is doing it.
Yes. A
Yep.
normal sized Michael Caine human.
Yes. Yes. He takes Scrooge to the Cratchit house. We meet the rest of Bob Cratchit's family. He's married to Miss Piggy, obviously. I love this bit where she confused her two daughters because they look alike. And what their names are Belinda and Bettina, I think.
Yes.
And they're yelling at her like, "I'm Belinda, I'm Bettina." And she's like, "Whatever." I noticed this in this rewatch. I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but when Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim are walking home, the neighborhood behind them, the rows of houses, are sort of crooked and at odd angles. And I kept thinking this looks very Cabinet of Dr. Caligari,
Yes.
very German expressionist. And I couldn't help wondering if that's what they were going for somehow.
Maybe not that specifically, but maybe German expressionism. And so this watch, I've kind of noticed that in general of just the streets and housing and whatnot. I think, as you mentioned, this time period, I
Hmm.
think they're playing up on that. These houses are, even the nice ones are not nice. Everything's
Right.
tilted and canted and scary looking. I think it's accentuated in this scene because this is one of the few scenes where like Kermit is full bodied because you don't have Steve puppeting him from underneath. And I think they had to make a just a small backdrop for
Hmm.
Kermit and his little tadpole nephew to come walking down the street. So I
Hmm.
think it's accentuated because of how they
Hmm.
had to shoot it.
Yeah.
But definitely reading your notes, watching like, oh, that's definitely exactly what I see now.
Yeah. Thank you. At least I'm not the only one.
Oh no, it's creepy but it not because they're so joyous. And this is like where Kermit the Frog does some like scatting. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Kind of works, but why?
Yeah. Why? Why not? When they get in the house and they're saying grace or doing toast or whatever for their meal, it always felt so odd to me that Bob Cratchit is toasting his employer. I don't think anyone in real life has ever done this. When they're like, the founder of the feast, my boss. What a great guy.
And maybe that was more of a tradition back then, and maybe that's why it sticks out. Cratchit's doing it because Scrooge is such an asshole.
Right. And that's what I thought too, is that there needs to be some way for Scrooge to hear what everyone's really thinking about him in terms of the rest of the family.
As we go on through what's like basically the day of Christmas, if it
Hmm.
was happening right now, the ghost of Christmas present slowly ages. He gets like white streaks in his hair, and eventually he's just like all white beard, white hair. He just looks like he's literally dying.
I like how he sort of fades away and there's just twinkly kind of Christmas lights left for a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was
Hmm.
fun. And he leaves Scrooge in a cemetery, a graveyard, to meet
Hmm.
the next ghost. I don't know if it's because it was like a set cemetery or maybe the style they did it in, but for a brief second, I was like, oh man, is Michael Caine on the set of The Quiet Man?
Maybe at this point he wishes he was. Because
Oh no,
the ghost of Christmas yet to come is scary.
it is scary.
Although he could have been animals, so whatever. But I always thought it was very scary as a kid. Again, no face, you don't really know what's going on under there. To me, that is very creepy. Doesn't help that even Mr. Dickens and Rizzo bow out at this point. They're like, nope, bye.
Yeah, they bounce.
Hmm.
And that is appropriate, I think, because I don't think this sequence would work with Gonzo being Dickens kind of narrating it. Rizzo wouldn't work in the scene. It would definitely
Hmm.
take away the scare factor that apparently Brian Henson likes to scare children. And you know what? I applaud him for that. But as I said earlier, why I like Gonzo being Dickens, we kind of get some of the internal feelings kind of put out there for us to understand. So all that's gone, and now it's just all onto Michael Caine because Yet to Come doesn't speak, and so he's carrying the sequence all by himself, and it also really helps it be scary since no one's talking to him. Our lovable hosts have left, like, oh, this is too scary for us. Even I wrote this book, and I don't like it, and I'm out of here.
Yeah. Do you think that the ghost of Christmas yet to come would have been less scary if Scrooge had a better future to look forward to?
Do you mean his or its physical appearance?
Yes.
I don't I don't think so. I think it would look the same because present and past are softer spirits. They're
Sure, yeah.
angelic, they're jolly. I think it's because it's how Scrooge is internalizing it, I believe, makes it scary because he knows he done fucked up, Aaron. He has done bad things and hurt people in his life and has put money first. hence the
Mm-hmm.
life lessons. So I think he's internalizing it. If that, I think anyone would be afraid of the Grim Reaper character, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of sees where this is going, and then they show
Sure.
him his future that nobody cared about him, and they're buying his drapes and stuff and clothes off his dead body, and nobody can think twice about it because he's just a man that only cared about money anyway.
I do think it's a little funny that Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, you're right, he feels like a Grim Reaper character. And it's supposed to be scary because in the future you'll die, but also how is that shocking? Like everyone eventually will.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I just wonder if the rest of it had been better for Scrooge outside of the part where he ultimately will die one day, if that would have been a nicer ghost somehow. Because if he had a nice, I don't know, Bob Cratchit kind of future to look forward to,
Right.
what would be the point of showing up all scary like that?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I think my argument is maybe that's just what he looks like. But that being the case, if you leave a great life and this same physical appearance ghost comes to see you, I'd still be scared. Like, what I do?
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I'll change. I'll change. I'll be meaner if I have to be. Like, let's go.
That being said, I love the line when Scrooge tells this ghost, I am prepared to follow and to learn with a thankful heart. And he's so sincere, and the ghost obviously doesn't respond to this. And I wrote, Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come does not give a fuck.
Nope. I mean,
Nope.
he doesn't change anything. His job is to show what could happen or what will happen if you continue this lifestyle. So of course he
Right.
doesn't give a fuck. He's not doing anything. This is all on you, Scrooge.
But yeah, I guess I didn't have too much to say about this because we know Scrooge has shown that Tiny Tim will die if things continue this way. And like you said, everyone's selling off all his belongings and no one has anything nice to say about him.
Yeah, nobody cares. No one's mourning his death.
Hmm. No
Uh,
one mourns the wicked.
but he wakes
Uh,
up, and it's still Christmas morning, and he's in a
yep.
better mood. And I love the scene. He's all excited and getting ready to go out for the day. He does the like Christmas goose thing out the window, and he's gonna get ready.
Hmm.
And he like looks in the mirror. He's like all happy and smiling. Like, kind of like fluffs his hair, and then he like realizes he looks like shit. He goes, Michael Caine does this really quick expression. His face like, oh, and he like waves his hands at himself. It just, I don't know why this time I laughed so hard at that. Maybe as an adult, you're like, I gotta go get my day started. I look great. I look like shit. Doesn't matter. Bye. I gotta go. I
Yeah.
got stuff to do. I got turkeys to buy.
I think it's so funny when he's, sticking his head out the window, like you said, like ranting at this. I guess he's a bunny.
Yeah,
The
it's a
one
little
that he
bunny.
wouldn't give him money for earlier, and he's like, "Go buy this goose and go do this," and like, "Here's some money," and this bunny character is so scared and confused at first.
Oh yeah,
Also, it occurred to me on this rewatch that Scrooge had never actually met Tiny Tim in real life, just through ghost visits.
yeah. Or like
Yeah.
probably any of his family.
Well, yeah, I'm
I would
sure.
assume.
Hmm. Mentioned this a little bit already, but Beaker collapsing his head into his coat at the sight of Scrooge,
Yeah,
not realizing that, he's nice Scrooge now. And then it's so sweet, but also so corny that Beaker gives Scrooge his scarf. And it's also such a thin scarf that it just looks so silly on Scrooge.
you mean the appropriately sized scarf on a Muppet is comically small on a grown Michael Caine? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Who
Uh,
knew?
who knew?
It's also the only color he's wearing. Because everything else, he's dressed nice, but it's all black.
Yes.
But it hides the coal dust. So,
There you go.
he shows up to the Cratchit's house and pretending to be old Scrooge, or I should say, mean
Mhm.
Scrooge. He's still the same age, I guess.
The older
And
version of Scrooge.
yes, yes. Well, I want to clarify because we were talking about past and present and future.
Oh boy.
Nice Scrooge shows up and he is pretending to be mean when he knocks on the door. And I love that Miss Piggy eventually comes to the aid of Kermit, and she's basically like, anyone seen the Muppets? Miss Piggy is aggressive and she likes to karate chop people and fight people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think she is like one word away from smacking the shit out of Scrooge, and then he's like, "Wait, double your pay? What's going on here?"
Right?
It's just like we don't see Miss Piggy a lot in this movie because we don't need to see Emily, Bob Cratchit's
Hmm.
wife.
Right.
But the couple times we do, especially this scene, she is very much Miss Piggy, and I love how the characters we know as the characters they are, they
Yes.
bring a little bit to the Christmas Carol in some way or form.
Yeah, absolutely. I laughed so hard at this on this rewatch when Gonzo is giving his little wrap up of things. He says, Tiny Tim, who did not die. And Rizzo says, Aw, isn't that swell?
Yep. Yeah.
Just kind of downplays it a little bit, how serious it could have been. So, in the end, Michael Caine is singing a happy Christmas song, and literally everyone in the neighborhood has joined in, I guess. But I think they were all following him with the giant goose to the Cratchits
Yeah.
anyway. Okay. I could not help getting Love Actually vibes, and just hear me out, because have you seen Love Actually?
I actually have.
Okay. Uh the end where Colin Firth's character is going to propose to the Portuguese woman, and like the whole neighborhood is following him to go do it. But then also I noticed the very last shot of A Muppet Christmas Carol, you have all these animals gathered round, and you have some animals hanging out the windows of the building across the street, and two of them are lobsters, which again, the randomness of some of these Muppet characters, just all different kinds of animals completely out of place, whatever. In Love Actually, there's that scene where one of Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson's kids, they're all excited because they got a part in the nativity play, and they say, "I'm the lobster," because they had to create characters so all the kids could be in the play.
Did this inspire Love Actually?
Maybe. Maybe one day
Hmm.
when I'm sure we will talk about it, my research will show.
Oh joy.
Mhm. It's the Christmas lobster.
Best kind of lobster.
When The Muppet Christmas Carol was released, it was considered a modest hit. It grossed about 33 million worldwide against a $12 million budget. So definitely not the big numbers we've seen with previous movies we've discussed.
Sure.
Also, I can't help pointing out, pretty sure when we talked about First Wives Club, the budget was 30 million. And
Mm,
that's like 3 million less than the worldwide gross for A Muppet Christmas Carol.
yeah. Hmm.
So it was sixth place in its opening weekend, which is not great, but it was also competing with Home Alone 2, and apparently Aladdin was still in theaters. So it was competing against the other big Disney release of that year,
That is a tough crowd. Yes.
for sure. Mixed critical response. A lot of the criticism seemed to be about the songs and the score in particular, that the songs were too silly. They didn't add anything. They were sort of pedestrian, I guess. And same thing is what they said about the score. It was just sort of there. I don't know.
Thoughts?
Yes.
Hey, this sounds familiar. It sounds like when we talked about Moulin Rouge. Like the songs
Okay.
were not good. It's not a good musical because they didn't write their own music. They did this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But also, I'm sorry, the songs were silly. Motherfucker, they're singing vegetables. I don't know what else to say about that. I've got cantaloupe talking to me.
I mean, yeah, it's a kids movie at the end of the day.
Right. And
I
not that
do.
kids' movies can't be good. Not that a kids' movie can't star Michael Caine. But when you're doing kids television, kids movies, you're going to put songs in there. They're going to be catchy. They're going to be silly because they're going to have the repeat viewing. And they're going to want to buy the toys and the Happy Meals and the this and the that. It's all part of the greater scheme of things. And even if it wasn't for kids, an adult movie can be silly and fun. Piss off.
But yeah, that's generally how I feel too. Like, again, I know I have bias because I grew up watching this. So obviously, I think it's a complete Christmas classic. And how could you have anything negative to say about any of this, especially the songs, personally. But yeah, I'm very curious how I would feel if I hadn't grown up with this. But like we said, it's
Not the
still
point
a
of the
movie
podcast.
for kids. Yeah, well, that too, right? Right. Of course. Definitely not the point of the podcast. So yeah, I'm straying too far from
Yeah. No, we're allowed to stand up for our Muppet Christmas movie. This is the
Yep.
point. I don't want to imagine what it would be like not growing up with this.
Fair enough. The other thing that I guess people found very odd at the time was that the Muppets were taking on an existing story.
I
The
understand that part, yeah.
So I had never thought of it this way. The movies leading up to this one were the Muppet movie in 79, The Great Muppet Caper in 81, and The Muppets Take Manhattan in 84. And those were all their own, Muppet adventures. I guess because I grew up with Muppet Christmas Carol and then Treasure Island, I never thought of it as odd that they were doing a Muppet take on a classic story, so to speak. But I guess when A Muppet Christmas Carol came out, some critics really didn't know what to do with it because it wasn't an original Muppet story. And they felt like
Yeah,
it was odd that they were taking on classic literature, Dickens. I mean, of course, I think it works just fine, but
it works great. It's more than fine. I
right.
mean, as a kid, I definitely watched the Muppet movie and Muppet Caper as a kid. I love the Muppet movie.
Mhm.
And when this movie comes out and I'm watching it on VHS, I'm pretty sure I don't know what a Charles Dickens is. So to me, this is just a Christmas story being told with
Mhm.
Muppets.
Right.
How am I supposed to know?
I mean, I think I had known about the story of A Christmas Carol, the general you're visited by three ghosts, past, present, future. This man was
That's probably
mean
true.
and then Christmas and now he's nice. The very general vibes, right?
Yes,
Um
yes.
but yeah, it's not like I knew that Charles Dickens, the great British writer, wrote
Right.
this in the mid 1800s.
I would say that how am I supposed to know that this is the first time they did something unoriginal? I don't know if the Muppet movie was based on something else when I'm 7 years old when I watched it for the
Mhm.
first time or whatever it was. Like, I don't know. I know the critics are thinking a different way than a child, but sometimes critics need to put on their childlike wonderment hat when
Mhm.
they kind of think of these things.
I think what struck me is that a lot of the criticism at the time, they were acting like it was any old kid show that decided to put out a feature-length movie, and then
Hmm.
not only a feature-length movie, a holiday movie. And the only thing I can think of is if when a Paw Patrol movie comes out now, or if there was a Bluey movie, it's not like it's going to appeal to critics who don't watch the show, right? But at the same time, I feel that the Muppets were different because at least the Muppet Show, that didn't appeal just to kids.
Clearly, yeah.
Right. So I'm a little confused about where the Muppets were in the cultural conversation, so to speak, at the time, because I guess I never saw them as solely a children's thing because of the existence of the Muppet Show.
Yeah, and the previous movies too. I don't think they're specifically for kids. They're
That's
not
also the
unkid
impression.
friendly,
Right, yeah.
but they're not specifically for kids.
Yeah.
I think the whole Jim Henson's vibe is like adult with an imagination. Be
Um
childlike.
And that is the impression I have too, but also, do I just have that impression because I grew up with the Muppets and now I am an adult who still loves the Muppets? I don't know.
This is what Henson would want.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, very mixed reviews at the time. I think it's hard to say mixed reviews at the time, but also this movie wasn't just a singular thing because the Muppets were already an existing IP. People already had their memories of, like we said, the TV show, the other Muppet movies. However, its reputation obviously grew because we are here talking about it now. It's considered far and wide one of the best adaptations of A Christmas Carol of all time, a classic Christmas movie now in its own right. I can't help thinking it had the hocus pocus treatment where people our age grew up watching it constantly, and
Hmm.
now as people of our generation moved into criticism, especially internet movie criticism or cultural criticism, it seems like those types of media sources are the ones that would always put it on a pedestal of a really great Christmas movie. I'm thinking of film sites like Den of Geek, Screen Rant, that sort of thing. I don't know if you go back and talk to these people who are reviewing movies in 1992 if they would feel the same way that these newer critics do, if that makes sense.
It does.
Well,
It's
I
backed
mean,
by facts.
they do change their mind sometimes,
Yeah.
revise things sometimes.
And we saw that when we did the Halloween episode. Halloween 2 was shat on, and then they went back like, no, 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 no. This actually was really good. We were comparing it to the original one. We should compare it to movies of the time, and it
Mhm.
blew the other horror movies away. So, yeah, I guess you can go back and kind of retrospect things.
I also saw, just adding to its reputation now as being a classic Christmas movie, I was trying to look up current takes on it. It was a little difficult because we are going into the Christmas season. Most of what I found were planned showings at big movie theaters, like in London and New York, and big historical theaters are showing it specifically for Christmas. Orchestra performances where they'll do all the songs and the score. I also found out that Fallout Boy released a cover of It Feels Like Christmas.
Interesting.
I had no idea.
No.
I meant to listen to it before this recording and I completely forgot. To solidify my point of it now
Hmm.
being seen as a classic, Michael Caine gave a quote that said, "Every one of my friends did The Muppet Show except me, and now I've done a whole movie that I think will turn out to be a perennial Christmas masterpiece." And he clarified in this interview that he did not at all think this was because of him being in it, but because it's the Muppets. And obviously, he was proven correct,
Even Michael Caine knows it's about the Muppets.
right? So I wanted to end it on this nice quote that I found from Steve Whitmire, our puppeteer who took over doing Kermit from Jim Henson. As we said, a lot of this production was, even though they said, the major grieving process had kind of ended, it was a very emotional production because it was their first one without Jim Henson and Richard Hunt. So this is Steve Whitmire. "On my best days, I have this sense that I'm channeling Jim in some way. We and Kermit all share a dualistic view on life where the good stuff and the bad stuff equals itself out. Kermit looks for equanimity in things. He sees the best in people and sees the worst in people and nurtures them beyond that without criticizing them. It's the way Jim was, and it's the way I've tried to operate in my own life as well."
It's very sweet.
It's a nice sentiment to leave on.
Yeah, I think so.
So, did this movie hold up for you?
If you have to ask,
Yeah. Yeah.
of course, absolutely.
Yeah, you were ready to
This
like
whole,
fight people that didn't like it. So,
I would go back in time and fight Dickens himself, um, for other reasons, I guess. But this whole half of season 3, the Christmas edition, these are
mhm,
all like my favorite Christmas movies. Somehow we
mhm,
agreed on 5 of them. We literally wrote our own separate list and agreed had the same 5 movies. This one might be. It's hard to say. This one might be number 1. I love
mhm,
Gremlins and Home Alone. It's ones I saw as a kid. Favorites
mhm,
since then. There's just something between the Muppets, the classic story, the mean turning to nice.
mhm,
I'm sitting here watching it and humming along to the songs as I'm typing up my notes,
mhm,
getting excited that Christmas is around the corner. There's certain scenes that invoke like thoughts and feelings that like make me
mhm,
smile or get goosebumps because it just reminds me of family gatherings and things like that. I don't know. It's
mhm,
it's hard to get all the other emotions in some of these other films we're talking about this season, where this hits comedy, scary, a lot of notes that
Yeah.
where like some of these other movies don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I agree with all of that. It's this wonderful combination of when we talk almost in a cheesy sense, I guess, about what Christmas is supposed to mean and the true meaning of Christmas. It's
Hmm.
that, but it's also hilarious, and you still have that childlike feeling of Christmas because it's the Muppets.
Yep,
Um, I mean, I feel like this movie was tailor-made for me anyway because I've always loved the Muppets. I really like Charles Dickens. I will watch anything set in London. I feel like this is very much a bunch of things I like colliding. But that being said, I mentioned it in the beginning, those opening notes of the opening scene, that is Christmas to me. This is peak nostalgia for me.
absolutely.
Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on the Muppet Christmas Carol, as well as your own favorite Christmas movies. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell and myself, Joe Siomnik, with additional help and support from Peter Telep of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Fracci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie watching past on Back Through the Lens.
I hear the wolf howling behind you. You might want to do that
The
again.
wolf agrees with me. He's like,